I've watched hours of footage. He's going to suit Man United. He's going to suit the Premier League. It's just going to be fantastic.
The confidence of Jose Mourinho and the flair of Pep Guardiola. That is how Sun Sports tactical guru Dean Scoggins has described Manchester United's new manager, Ruben Amorim. And as the Premier League's latest Portuguesa prepares to take charge of the Red Devils for the first time away at Ipswich on Sunday, we're back in the Tactics Exposed studio with a one-time special on Amorim and what Manchester United and Premier League fans should expect. Dino, great to be back in the Tactics Exposed studio after the international break. Ruben Amorim is the name on everyone's lips. Before we get into the tactical stuff, what have you made of his time at United so far?
Well, it's really interesting. It's exciting. It's going to be new style. I've got so much to talk about. I've even got an iPad this week just to make sure we don't miss anything. I've watched hours of footage and he's going to suit Man United. He's going to suit the Premier League. It's just going to be fantastic.
Right. Give us the 5 things then, Dino, that we're going to be covering on this episode.
Yeah, it's hammer time and we're going to see that new formation. Speed, excitement, 3-4-3, don't doubt it. Secondly, Marcus Rashford. He's going to get resurrected under Amorim. I can see it. New position, as long as he buys into that formation, absolutely. Then the wing-backs. We absolutely going to see this left wing-back, right wing-back playing slightly differently, but then that is how he plays. Absolutely, with wing-backs. Fourthly, Onana. Let's finally see Onana's game and him playing out from the back and moving the ball quickly through the lines. And lastly, the main man, Kobbie Mainoo. But have they got the legs in midfield, United?
Well, there we go. Right, the first one, Dino, you've kind of given the game away with 3-4-3, but for most people, when they hear that, that can also be a 5 at the back. It's kind of a modern way of saying, yeah, sometimes it's 5 when the team hasn't got the ball. Manchester United, attack is what they say on the Stretford end. Should they be a little bit worried that this could be quite defensive, actually?
No, absolutely not. No, they're going to see exciting football. Hopefully it'll be quickly, but it might take some time. You know, let's give the guy a chance. But yeah, they will slot in at 5 at the back at times. But it's 3-4-3. This is his formation. A little bit we've seen over the last few weeks, a few people question, will he come in with a different way of playing for United or will he stick to his style? He will stick to his style. We saw it on the training ground this week, albeit with players who, without players who are on international duty and with some young players slotted in. But it will be 3 centre-backs, it will be wing-backs, it will be 2 midfielders, and it will be 2 10s playing off a number 9. And how he adapts those players to his system is going to be the key. But I don't want to overplay the 3-4-3 too much because essentially what he's going to do is what a lot of managers do in the Premier League at the moment, which is effectively end up in a 3-2-5 shape.
Right.
So whatever you're playing, you know, you see Chelsea with an inverted fullback, Man City doing the same. You see Tottenham throw both their fullbacks forward, but a holding player drops back in. Arsenal go from a 4-4-2 in defence to a 3-2-5 in attack. This will be very similar, just starting from a different place with a different identity of some players. But it will be 3-4-3 and it will be attacking.
OK, am I jumping the gun by asking you what players are going to play in these positions, or will we cover it later on?
No, I think that's wise we start. For a start, we're going to talk about a number 9 and Rasmus Højlund, OK? We haven't seen Man United make the most of Rasmus Højlund's ability, OK? Victor Gyökeres, however you pronounce it, you know, is been the superstar at Sporting up front. The formation, the style is built around a mobile, big, physical runner of a number 9. And Højlund can do that for United, absolutely no question. Then there are other players who fit straight in without any problem. Bruno Fernandes, obviously, can play as one of those 10s. And then you have the likes of Lisandro Martinez, Matthias de Ligt, and people like that at the back. Lenny Yoro, we obviously haven't seen yet in a United shirt, but he on the training ground this week was slotted straight in as that right hand of the back 3.
Yep.
So those players will slot in. You've got Ugarte, Casemiro as midfield players and Kobbie Mainoo as well. So there are players who slot straight in, but there are some big question marks around some of the others.
OK, well, I'm not going to ask you who the wing-backs are going to be yet because I think that is going to interest and excite United fans. But point 2, Marcus Rashford and his resurrection under Ruben Amorim. It hasn't happened yet yet, and it will be quite some feat, to be honest, because it's been a long, long time since anyone saw the Marcus Rashford of old. But you think that Amorim could be the man to get him back to his best?
Yeah, I think he's got a chance. I don't think we should be writing off a player of Marcus Rashford's quality. He's had some real ups and downs, obviously, over the last couple of years. But the fact of the matter is this formation is not going to have two out-and-out wingers.
Right.
OK, so Marcus Rashford is not going to play as the winger hanging out on the left-hand side because they'll play with a left wing-back. OK, so the identity of Amorim's team is that they attack quickly and they carry the ball as well. So it's not just tiki-taka, keep ball. OK, they are direct. They run with the ball. They run the ball into the penalty areas. They were very, very high touches in the penalty area in the Portuguese league, Sporting. Obviously, they're a top side in a not a very good league. However, they don't pass the ball into the area that often. That's not their way. They carry the ball into the area. He wants direct runners. He wants players with the confidence who get the ball 10, 15 yards outside the area, beat their man and drive into the area. And Rashford can be one of those, OK? The second thing is, so people say, well, he's not a number 10. He's not going to play off the number 9. He could play as the 9 at times. I think it will be Højlund predominantly, but he's had a week on the training ground this week with Amorim when Højlund's been on international duty, so he's got a chance.
He was playing the number 9.
He played the 9 in a lot of the drills to begin with, but he also played as one of the 10s. So let's talk about the profile of these players, okay? Amorim likes to have different profiles of player in similar positions. So we'll come back to the wing-backs and the midfielders in a minute. But the 2 10s will not just be 2 10s.
Right.
They're not going to be the little ball-playing number 10s, the Fodens, the Odegaards, or the James Maddisons. They're not going to be that player who... There's not going to play 2 of them.
So just
for a
to
start,
clarify,
they haven't got 2 of them.
Just to clarify then, before we move on, the 3-4-3 you're talking about is going to be your 3 sort of centre-back type players, 2 attacking full-backs, I guess then 2 central midfielders, and then the 3, will they be... Højlund, you've said already, what are the 2 wingers or the other 2 forwards? Are they inverted 10s?
You like that phrase? Yeah. So they are. You could call them inverted 10s, but they're very adaptable. He likes players who can play in a particular area of the field and do the job that he wants. So there's one of the reasons Sporting have been so successful is the fact that when they've sold big players, which they've had to because they're a Portuguese club, they've sold for big money. You know, Ugarte, who's at United now, João Palhinha, the likes of those players, they've sold. And he's been able to replace them because the player who comes in knows the role. Yeah. And you're not building a team around a superstar. You're building a superstar formation that the players have to fit into.
Pep at Man City?
Yeah, very much so. So if you lose a player, you're going to do this job in this role. So with those profiles of 10s, what he does is he has a ball player who will probably be Bruno Fernandes, and that was Trincao at Sporting, who, a bit more of a cheeky little player, little touches here and there. And then he has other players who are the driving runner from that position. And to me, that could be Rashford.
Okay, so
that could be the one who he goes beyond the number 9 and runs beyond the number 9.
Okay, so he be playing more inverted than fans might be used to seeing him?
His starting position will be there. Yep. And it's Goncalves has done that role for Sporting, where the number 9, his job is to stretch the defence backwards, to make those diagonal runs so that when the ball's played to the wing-backs, they can be played in behind and you drag a defence backwards. What that then does is create this channel of space for those number 10s who are in behind.
A horizontal corridor?
Exactly, yeah. And either, if it's one side where you have a player take the ball into feet, that means the player the other side, the other 10, runs in behind in a striker position. Yep. So if you can imagine that, Højlund's dragging a play one way, Bruno comes and takes it into feet, turns, and Rashford's running in the other way, all of a sudden you've got a real threat. And so look, it's not ideal for Rashford. He's not grown up playing that way. He's always played on it's a 4-2-3-1 as he's the left winger, or he's played as a striker in a counter-attacking team. But look, he's super talented. He's quick. He's going to have to learn to track back a bit faster under Amorim, but that's training ground work. But I think he's still got a huge role to play if he buys into it early. We've got a Manchester United boy who can be part of the Manchester United future.
Okay, very quickly then before we move on, is that going to look like goals and assists for Rashford, or is it going to be perhaps some more less obvious like contributions?
More assists than goals, I think.
Yeah.
And you look at Sporting over the last year, and Gyökeres and the sub-strikers, whoever they've brought on, have been the dominant goal scorer. 40-odd goals for Gyökeres in the last 12 months. So they create good chances for the number 9 from the number 10s and the wing-backs.
Right, you talk about Rasmus Højlund there, Dino. It's fair to say he's hardly sparkled at Manchester United. Much of a service issue, I imagine, as a lack of ability, or any perceived lack of ability on his part. The wing-backs, I feel already, I'm sure United fans do as well, are going to be a really intriguing part of how Amorim plays, and perhaps we'll see some players who you're used to seeing in more attacking positions, playing a little bit deeper down the pitch, but still having an impact as United go forward. Am I right?
Absolutely. I think you're right. I think there'll be some surprises here. This is where it's really intriguing. I'd love to have seen more of their training this week, but we'll see it this weekend of the idea. He said straight away in his first press conference, you'll see an idea. You'll see my ideas very early on. And look,
we didn't really see that under Ten Hag?
Right. Did we see anything under Ten Hag? We stood here week after week wondering where the identity was going to be. And I watched one training session of Ruben Amorim and I feel like, wow, there we go. And we're going to see it early. He's going to come in with his plan. And I think there are some players who have got a really interesting few weeks coming up. Garnacho is one of them, okay? And because you talked about the wing-backs, being a little deeper. But in this Amorim formation, they're not. They're right up. It is 3-2-5 when they attack, and he expects them to push right up the field. And where I said before about he has the different profiles, okay? So the 2 number 10s, they're both number 10s, but they're different styles of player. Yeah. He also does the same with the wing-backs. So if Garnacho is chosen to be a right wing-back, which is very feasible, it could happen, right. Then he'll be the one that attacks down that side. Look, we could be talking about Anthony playing in a wing-back position right. as well. And look, I know you laugh, but, we're talking about what Amorim wants is those players in those positions to be left 1v1 against a fullback. Right. And then when they get 1v1, it's not one-trick Tony, like we've seen from Anthony before, where he just does the same thing time and time again. The thing you do,
360-degree spin.
None of that nonsense. Yeah. Run at your man, go past him, get to the byline and cut the ball back. Yep. So those players have got the ability to do it. So if he has a direct runner in Ahmad, in Garnacho, in Anthony playing one side, Ahmad could also play in one of those 10 positions as well. But if he has that player off the right, then on the left, it could be a Dalot or a Mazraoui where they've got more duty to come infield slightly and be more part of a midfield play. Yep. And, Mazraoui being very two-footed suits that as well. Dalot also very two-footed, can play both sides. And so they're playing in the more inside left channel. Because as I've said before, if you've got Højlund making a direct run, Rashford will naturally make a direct run to the left. Yep. So you don't want your wing-back going in there. You want your wing-back coming inside. So they are both wing-backs, but they're different profiles of wing-back. So it's going to be really interesting. I don't think we'll see Luke Shaw there, funnily enough. And I actually think that the attacking prowess will come from direct runners from wing-back.
Yeah, would Luke Shaw potentially be one of the left centre-backs, potentially?
I think he could be, yeah. I think he could be. But at Sporting, we've got Quinada, who is a direct runner on one side, and then the other side, they use a more sort of inverted fullback. It's not inverted as we've seen before, but it's definitely a player who is not trying to get to the byline as often.
Okay, so if everyone's fit, and Dino, before we move on to point 4, who are your 2 starting wing-backs, given what you know about Amorim?
I think from the style that they've played at Sporting so far, Mazraoui suits the left-hand position the best, and then it will be a case of who he believes on the right can work up and down and still be that attacking threat in behind. I think we'll see Garnacho there. Ruud van Nistelrooy played Garnacho there. We did in the last show where he can absolutely get into that position. But let's see, we could get a shot with Anthony.
Great. Point number 4, Dino. Now, I wanted you to be the one to sing this, but as the presenter, I'm going to take the burden on my shoulders. Point number 4 is, oh, Nana, watch your game.
OK, you were much better than me at that.
Thanks very much.
Finally, we're going to see a plan for playing out from the back with Onana, who we know is quality with his feet. end of the Hail Mary balls
we know
forward.
that? We do.
Look, he's fabulous with his feet. He can play. That's why he was bought in the first place, and they still haven't shown a pattern of play playing out. I ranted about it under Ten Hag. No pattern of play, no way of playing out, and teams just set traps and pick them off. The Liverpool episode, we're going to pick them off. The Tottenham one, suckered you, done you. So that is what is going to happen. That's what's going to happen when you haven't got a plan. They've got a plan. It's going to be fun the first couple of weeks because there will be mistakes.
Right.
You know, players take time to adapt. Look, Onana will still keep playing those balls. One thing we should say, right? Sporting Lisbon don't play long balls.
Right.
Okay? Under Amorim, they didn't play long balls.
At all.
Barely any. They were the lowest in the league at long balls. They also don't pass it backwards. Okay? So Man United so far have the highest number of backward passes this season, apart from Wolves and Southampton. Okay?
That is a stat and a half.
So that will not happen under Amorim. He hates it. He hates going backwards more than Ange Postecoglou likes defending set pieces.
What's it going to look like then? Onana playing out from the back.
It will look at. They will have two centre-backs either side of him, and they'll have another centre-back go in like a holding midfielder, and then you've got the two normal midfielders and the two wing-backs. So it's almost like 2-5 in the way they'll set up if Onana's got the ball from a goal kick. And then, of course, you've still got the two number 10s in front. So De Ligt maybe will sit one side and Martinez will sit the other side, or maybe Yoro one side and Martinez the other, and De Ligt will go into the centre.
Right.
And what he does, what Amorim likes, is you have this sort of zigzag pattern. Okay, so from the goalkeeper, you can play it into somebody's feet, and if they can't turn straight away, it's 2 touches only. Okay, 2 touches only. If you can't take it on your back foot and play it away with your first touch after that, it goes back in, and then it goes into another man. So they often almost create a W-shaped zigzag across the back 4, or back 3, back 5, however you look at the setup. But the goalkeeper being very key to it. But we saw straight away in training this week, teacher's pet, Kobbie Mainoo, straight away, Amorim was next to him as an old midfielder himself, getting next to Kobbie Mainoo about when it's time to pivot and take the ball on that half turn and pivot. And that's what this setup does. If you press them and push all those players forward, you're going to need 6 players, 7 players to press all of those players. Otherwise, you create this huge gap in between, which then someone will turn.
Where's the gap? Sorry?
The gap is the horizontal gap in between the midfield and defence.
The defending teams or United?
Yeah, so if you say you've got Højlund on the halfway line, and then let's say it's Rashford and Bruno as the two 10s, and so you've automatically got to have 4 players back, otherwise you're going to be 1v1 up there, okay? So then he creates this thing where the midfield drops towards the edge of the box, and then you're left in this sort of, do we go, and we said it in the Liverpool episode where Liverpool were really brave about going forward and pressing, or do we stay? And what he's trying to do...
let them have the ball in their defence.
What he's trying to do is get the goalkeeper to be able to see where Kobbie Mainoo is, perhaps, or the other centre midfielder is, and it's the time to turn. And that's when you spring the attack. So they're very quick, it's very direct, and as I say, there will be mistakes early on, but there's a clear pattern, and they will keep doing it.
So
they will keep doing it.
Just very briefly then, before we move on to the final point, what happens if teams do just sit off and go, do whatever you like up that end of the pitch, you're not going to hurt us there, we'll just let you do it. What happens then? What's the move? The
move is the wing-backs stay on the wings. So that's a very good question. It's a very key point.
Thank you very much.
It's taken a while. But
Episode 12 this season.
But no, the wing-backs really hold their width. So there is no inversion here from the wing-backs. You know, they are holding their width. So if they don't cut off that supply line to the wing-backs and they sit inside, then the centre-backs will take the ball on the left foot and play it first time out to the full-back one side, or on the right side, first time to the wing-back on that side. So there is a way out if they don't do that. But it will be intriguing to see, first of all, how Ipswich set up. You know, McKenna will have a plan, and also how in following weeks, you know, they've got the really intriguing one is a couple of weeks in the Cup against Tottenham, where we've got gung-ho Tottenham against new-style Man United. So that'll be really intriguing as well. But yeah, they're fast and they're direct.
Right, number 5 then, Dino, you've mentioned Kobbie Mainoo. They're the main man at the running club. Is that just going to be Mainoo? Because it sounds to me like this system is going to require a lot of running from a lot of the players, particularly those wide men.
Yeah, at a huge amount. And this is where 5 subs plays massively into their wheelhouse, because he will have to make some changes quite quickly. I fear for Casemiro's legs in this
we've
system.
said this before, haven't we?
And you know, Ruud van Nistelrooy in those couple of games did a good job of getting 2 in there. So it's Ugarte and Casemiro at that point, because Kobbie was injured. But again, looking at those profiles of players, okay, Amorim likes having 2 different styles of player in the same sort of position. So when he first came into Sporting, he had João Paulinho, you know, the midfield tackler, you know, the real nasty piece of work, you know, getting around the place. And next to him was Matheus Nunes. Different sort of centre midfielder, ball-playing midfielder. Obviously, he's not even playing midfield for Man City. He's playing much further up the field. But that's what he likes. So naturally, I think this will play into Ugarte's wheelhouse, where it's him and then Kobbie as the ball player. We could see Bruno playing in that position, you know, with either Casemiro or Ugarte. More of a dropped role in some games, because he sees him as a ball player as well. But
what does it mean for running wise, though, Dean?
But running, it just means they've got to get up and down. And you know, and in training this week, straight away we saw him with a whistle, and we saw him with instructions of when he blew the whistle, they are sprinting back to get into that 5-2-3 shape or 5-4-1 shape, as it should really become, so that then they're protected, because they will commit bodies forward. He will want 4, 5, 6 players even trying to get into the penalty area and create chances. But to do that, they've got to do something that Man United haven't done for about 12 months, and that is bust a gut to get back. You know, and Ugarte's all action. He needs to get fitter, but he's all action. But Kobbie Mainoo, it should be a bit like Rashford, the Man United boy. The identity they want back. He needs to be fully part of it. And straight away, Amorim is loving his style, loving his touch and his turn. And he likes players who are direct and quick. And, you know, when Kobbie Mainoo broke into that England team last year, it was because all of a sudden you've got that, I can break the lines with a little drop shoulder and go. And it's so special when a player can do it. Teams who haven't got a player in midfield who can see the press coming and dip their shoulder and go, you know, Alexis McAllister does it beautifully. Obviously, Rodri, Foden, you know, Odegaard, it's him. You know, a bit more controversially, Basuma does it for Spurs but in a much deeper position. Kobbie can do that, where he spins into space, and then that's where the 3-4-3 very quickly becomes 3-2-5, and you've got 5 players running at the back 4.
Right, Dino, wheelhouse is obviously a new word you've learnt this week. You nearly got to using it 3 times.
Amazing.
But just to wrap up then, it's going to be really exciting for Manchester United fans, Premier League fans, generally, to see what Ruben Amorim brings and whether he can break that curse of post-Fergie United and actually deliver success to what is obviously a huge club. But just to wrap up, if Amorim has got every single person fit, knowing what you know, what's the starting 11?
I think that it will obviously Onana in goal. I think it will be Martinez, De Ligt, and then another. If Euro is fit enough after this break, we might see him go in, although we might see him come into the cup.
That's from left to right?
That's from left to right. And, you know, Dalot played right centre-back in under Ruud van Nistelrooy. So that position is sort of TBC.
Come on, if everyone's fit.
If everyone's fit, then Euro, OK? If he's fully fit, we might see him in the cup first, though.
Wingbacks?
Wingbacks, I'm going to go Garnacho and Mazraoui. And then in midfield, I would say it will be Ugarte and Mainoo. And then I'm going to go Bruno and Rashford off of Rasmus Højlund.